I'm going to start. Somebody asked for me to record it. Got another
Uh, uh,
attendee coming in
yeah,
off
that
the
was me,
wait room.
Charles.
And okay. So first thing is, how did we, why did we start doing my collection feature on the chip guide? And I'll share with you my experience. Before I would come out to the convention every year, I wanted to make sure that I didn't buy chips that I already own. Since I work on the chip guide pretty much every day, I see a lot of chips, and sometimes I think, since I've seen a chip, I've got it in my collection, but I don't. I saw it because somebody submitted it to put it on the chip guide. Gets a little confusing. And sometimes I don't remember buying a chip or trading for a chip, and I buy one at the convention and come home and find out I have a duplicate. Before I went to the convention, I used to print out a list of my collection, and it was about 50 or 60 double-sided pages, and it was a lot to carry. It was a lot to print, and as soon as I got home from convention, you just had to throw it out because it was out of date already. So it was the only way I could do it, um, and we needed to figure out a better way to know what was in your collection, and we came up with this idea um, to do the My Collection feature on the chip guide. Now, you're looking at the production version of the chip guide, not the admin version, the production version of the chip guide. And you'll notice up over here, it doesn't say anything because I'm not logged on. And I'm not logged on purpose because what I wanted to do is to bring you to, I always like to go to the Aladdin, use it as a model. When you look at the item in the Aladdin Casino, it doesn't show the chip guide, the My Collection information over here next to or before the chip guide number. Uh, the My Collection feature is a uh, feature, we call it an advanced feature, and it's only available to the members when they are logged on. So I'm going to go ahead and log on, and I get the message I successfully logged on, and it shows I'm logged on and what my role is. If you're a member, it'll say member and your name. If you're an admin, it will say admin and your name over here. So now that I'm logged on, I'm going to go back to the Aladdin, the same page. But what's different is we now have the My Collection buttons over here. And there are 4 buttons, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see them a little more clearly. The first one has an MC in it for My Collection. The next one has WL for Want List, and this is it's you can have 4 lists associated with My Collection. One is things in my collection. The next one for Want List is these are things I'm looking for. The next one is TL for Trade List, and these are ones that you might have an extra of that you want to trade to somebody else. And then the final one is TT for Top 10. And that's not really my collection, but I'll explain later on in the session what TT Top 10 means. So I collect mainly $1 chips, and I have a lot of them. So here is a chip that I have in my collection, and you'll see that the My Collection button is now green. These buttons operate very simply. When it's red, it means it's not on the list. When it's green, it means it is on the list. And simply clicking on it changes whether it's on the list or off the list. So all I'm doing is clicking on My Collection, and it's on the list. And it's as simple as that. If you acquired a chip, let's say I got this chip, what a great chip, you'll see it's on my want list. If I just bought this chip, what I would do is I click on my collection, so it's in my collection, and click on the want list again because it's not on my want list. Now, somebody may ask, if I just bought it and I'm taking it off, I'm putting it in my collection, why don't you automatically take it off the want list? Well, it's not as simple as that. Sometimes you'll get a chip in not so great condition and you're still looking for a better one. So it could both be in your collection and on your want list. So you've got to click this, but that's the way it's been set up to work. So if it's green, it means it's on the list. If it's red, it's off the list. And if you click it, it changes it from on the list to off the list. So I'm going to restore this back because I want to keep it on my want list. And that's the operation of how we track things in your collection. Um, and while we go through, the way I like to give seminars, I'd like them to be interactive. If you've got a question, please unmute yourself and ask the question. And what I always say is, I'm not the greatest teacher. I don't do it as a profession. So I know I've got a lot of room for improvement when I teach. And if you've got a question, I'm pretty sure you're not the only one. So if you ask the question, if you're brave enough to ask the question, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping others who might have the same question. So as we go along, if you get a question, please uh, unmute yourself and ask the question. Any questions so far?
Yes, Charles.
Go ahead.
Uh, Theoretically, you could have all four green, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
Um, and it could be one of the top 10 means it's one of my favorite chips. So it could be one of your favorite chips. It could be in your collection. I might have the one in my collection in poor condition and I'm looking for a better one. And I might have two in poor condition. So it could be on my trade list. So it's really possible it could be on all four lists. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're all tracked separately, independently of each other. So yes, you can say, I've got this 25-cent chip in my collection. I'm looking for one in better condition. I've got an extra one I want to trade, and it's one of my, I know why it's not going in my list. It's not going in my list because I already have 10. You can only have, it's called top 10. You can only
Yeah,
have up to 10 favorites. So it's not going to go on if you've already have 10. And I tried to figure out how to make it beep, but I wasn't successful in doing that. I'll have to revisit that. So if you've already got 10 in your top 10 list for chips and you click it to put it another one on, I'd like to give a beep back so you know it didn't go on the list. All right, so let's take these off the list. And the next thing I want to show you is, let's zoom back out a little bit.
Charles, I do have a question.
Yeah,
Where do you pull up the top 10 list? It seemed like I used to know where to find it, and I haven't been able to find it.
okay. So, all right, we got the question. Well, it's right under the first drop down. It says top 10s to 100.
Wonder why I haven't been able to see that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And since we are going over there, I'll spend a couple of minutes explaining what this is. You can maintain your top 10 list for each of the categories um, of items on the chip guide. So I'm going to go down to my list, arrange my last name, and you can see I set up top 10 lists for chips, chatons, matchbooks, plaques, postcards, and slot tokens. So let's look at chips first. These are my top 10 chips,
Very nice.
okay? And it allows everybody to designate their top 10, and you could designate what order they're in. Not very many people do know this, but there is up and down arrows next to on the top line. If I was to click the up arrow, and I'll do that, it will move this to my number one spot and move the one in the one spot to the two spot. And if I want the Bahamian Club to go up one, I click it again and the Bahamian chip would move into the two spot. Why is that important? I'll explain it, but let me move the Aruba Caribbean back into the top spot. It's because we have a most popular category. If I go to most popular chips, this is looking at everybody's picks and ranking them and saying that Dunes Hotel is the favorite chip amongst all the people who were doing the top 10. So that's why it makes a difference. And the higher it is on the list, the higher ranking it gets. So these are ranking everybody's together. And these are the top 10 favorites of all the collectors. All right. Um, so let's go back to my collection then. Now you know what top 10 is. So the first thing I want to show you is at the bottom of member services, there's a tab called My Collection Information. And this is everything that I just told you, plus how you get started. You have to be a member of the Chip Guide. You have to log on to the Chip Guide. Then you can add items to your collection, want, and trade list. And now the next thing I'm going to show you is and explain. It says my collection. It truly is your collection. You own the data. If you want others to see the data, you have to authorize them to do so. By default, only you can see the information that you've put into my collection. So the next thing I want to show you is authorization, list authorization. And it's called List Manager. So when you go to List Manager, you get two drop downs. The first is people you've already authorized the list and people you haven't authorized. Now, most people don't want to have their list um, uh, uh, detailed to individual collector. So you can select everyone like I did. And what this says is, since they're green, I'm allowing everyone to see my collection, my want list, and my trade list. But if I didn't want people to see my collection, I would hit that. And now only you can see what's in your collection. Nobody else can. Everybody else can now see your want list and trade list, but it's up to you. So we want to keep the information private. If you want to make it public to other collectors, you've got to go to List Authorization, List Manager, and I would suggest selecting everybody. And then if you want them to see what's in your collection, click that. If you want to um, uh, let them see your want lists and trade lists, you make those green as well. So let me show you um, adding somebody. Let's say there's somebody you don't want to, one individual you don't want to see your collection. How would you do that? So I'm just going to pick the first person, and I just got a error message. Let me try somebody else. No, all right. I'm sorry about that. We did some changes recently, so I guess it's not working. I did try it yesterday, so I'm not really sure what the issue is, but let me just try this. Let me go back here. Okay. So I picked Camilo Costa. Um, right now it shows you're not sharing anything with them except what's on um, uh, what everybody does. So by default, he gets that. But now that I've selected him, he's not going to get anything. So if I only want him to see my trade list, I would correct, I would click on trade list, it would turn to green, and Camilo can see my trade list. So if there's one person you want to not have access to your list, that's how you do it. And now he will be on this list. He won't be on this list over here. Okay. Any questions? It's starting to get a little bit more complicated, but we wanted to, again, make it so that you control who has access to your data. Okay, so by default, nobody gets it. Go into List Manager, and I would, again, it's just say everybody. If you want everybody to see everything, that's what you do. Just click them all green. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Now that you've got um, your collection up on the chip guide, what can you do about it? So, well, before we do that, I want to show you one other neat thing. Let's go back to the map. Let's go back to the Aladdin where we were before. And you know that I'm looking for this chip. I should have checked this out before, but if you click on the chip guide number, it brings up more detailed information about that chip. So here is the more detailed information. And what you see here is it says that this chip is in 3 people's collections. It's on 17 people's want list, and it's on one person's top 10 list. And now here's the secret that most people don't know. If you click on collections, it's going to say, show you who's got this chip in their collection. If you've got an extra one you want to trade, I'd like to know who's got it on their want list. Click on want list, and it's showing you all the people who are interested in acquiring this chip, including me. And if you want to know whose top 10 list it's on, there it is. So this is the secret that most people don't know. You go into um, chip search by clicking on the chip guide number. It brings up the item, and you can then click on these lists and see whose list it's on. Any questions?
And Charles, just give us a second to
Yeah.
catch up because I think, at least for me, does anybody else have a delay of seeing the screen updates? Like right now, I'm still seeing the chip. I'm not seeing the.
What are you seeing, Bob?
When you were on the chip, the purple chip, I
Yeah.
think you went to some drop downs and you were talking about if you click on this, click on that. But as you were talking, I didn't see those drop downs. Right now, I'm still only seeing the purple chip.
Okay. Can you see now whose collection it's in?
Yep. Yeah. No, I can see that.
Okay.
Yeah. It just for me, maybe it was only me. It seemed maybe 5, 10 seconds behind where you were talking.
Okay. All right. Um, so the next thing I want to show you is what can you do? now that it's on your uh, uh, your your My Collection list. So the main way you're going to view stuff that's in your collection is with the Chip Guide query facility. And when you're a logged on member, you get an additional option, which is what list do you want to see here? The default is to see the entire chip guide. But if I can select my collection, and now it's going to filter the whole chip guide to only the items that are in your collection. You still have the ability to do other filtering, but it's only going to filter items in your collection. So let's say I want to see the items, my $1 chips from Canada. I would select chips all, $1, and select Canada. And boom, there it is. I've got 347 $1 chips from Canada, and here they are. So if you want to see stuff in your collection, that's how you do it. Now, I like Canadian chips. Let me look at my want list instead of what's in my collection. So these are the Canadian $1 chips that I'm looking for. Now, you can print this and bring it to the collection. You know, if you don't have phone service at a convention, um, or if you want to make a post on the chipboard saying these are the $1 chips that I'm looking for from Canada, you could do a screen copy and use that image to bring it over to the chip guide and start making some trades happen. So um, all the facilities that you have with the query facility, you can filter down now by your want list, your trade list, or you've got these that you want to get rid of. You want to trade away. These are my extras of Canadian chips. You could do the same thing. Make a screenshot of this. Um, Go over to the chipboard and say, I've got these extra Canadian chips. Looking to trade for the ones that I need, and initiate some trades that way. So that's where the power of the My Collection facility um, shows itself. Any questions here? Now,
Actually,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. If I could just actually add another tip that I've kind of figured out over the years. You were mentioning about doing screenshots, which is kind of limited, in terms of size.
Mm,
What I've had a lot of success with is actually um, printing to a PDF.
okay.
Most people, if you go to print in your browser, instead of choosing an actual printer, usually there's a choice in there to be able to print to a PDF file. Um, and when you do that, it'll ask you the location and what do you want to call it and stuff like that. So that's
Yeah.
I've
So yes, you certainly could do print, and what you want to do is select Save to PDF, and there you go.
Yep, yep. And the only thing that I've found is because it's just some of the size limitations. Sometimes I'll turn it to alt text and maximized, 200 per page or whatever they call it. Even with that, sometimes I'll have to have a couple of files if depending on how many things I have. Um,
Right.
and the nice thing about if you instead of doing images here, if you do text or what is it called? What's
So
the other
yes,
choice?
that's another secret that most people don't know. Um, the default view of query facility is image, like we're watching now, but you could select text. And when you do that, it's going to give you something that looks like, um, I use the format of the chip rack to provide the chip guide number, the denomination, mold, color, inserts, inlay, logo, when it was issued, and any comments. Now, this doesn't look great because there's only going to be one per casino, but let's go to, instead of my trade list, my collection. And now you'll start to see you getting multiples in each casino, and it kind of is taking on the format of uh, what the chip rack pages look like. So yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, and what I've found is when you, I'll also change items per page from 50 to 200 to make it more, to get more on there. And then what I've found, it's been a little inconsistent recently, but in the past, the the PDF it produces actually the chip guide numbers are active links.
Yep,
And so people can take the PDF and they could just click right on the chip guide number and it would take them directly to that item in the chip guide. So
right.
that was a way of and it makes because there's no images, it makes the file a little bit lighter, smaller, so that it's easier to move around and then you can just tell people, well, just click on it, it'll take you right. You see what the image is that way.
Right. So I'm going to click on this chip guide number, and boom, it takes you to see the information about that chip. So we've gone through everything but trade maker. And again, I'll stop again. Any other questions, comments? All right. So the next thing I want to show you is TradeMaker. And what TradeMaker does is it matches your want list or trade list to the comparable ones of others. So I'm going to start with, I'm really looking to fill out my collection. So I'm going to select my want list. Now, what TradeMaker is doing, and it takes a while because what it's doing is it's looking at your want list and everybody else's trade list and matching them together. And once it does all the matches and it finished, so it took less than a minute to match everything, but now it's showing you all the other collectors. If it's in red, then there's nothing to on their trade list that matches to your want list. If it's green, then it is. So I'm going to select Dick Bartley, my friend down in Virginia. And what it's going to do is show me these are all the items that are on my want list that he's got on his trade list. And I can look them over. And what I'm going to say is right now I'm only looking to get foreign chips in my collection. So I'm going to click on all the ones that are foreign chips. This is a foreign chip. That's local, 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 local. That's a foreign chip. Uh, that's a foreign chip. Well, that's enough. So I put a bunch on my, uh, I selected a bunch, and then I go to the bottom of the screen and click on Create Email. And what this does is it formats an email from me to Dick Bartley. The subject is Chip Guide trade maker request, and it says, Dick, hello, I'm interested in trading for the items below from your trade list. Please check out my trade list on the chip guide and let me know if we can make a trade. Thanks. Also note, the images are from the chip guide and are not the actual images of the chips available for trade. Please confirm the condition of chips prior to making a trade. Thank you, Charles Kaplan. Now, this is automatically generated by TradeMaker. If you have additional comments that you want to add in, like I'm going to be away this weekend, can we pick this up again on Monday? Or I'm only looking for chips in uncirculated or slightly used condition or better. So whatever additional comments you want to make, you could put it here and it will add it into the email. And then it shows you all the chips. So let me just make one comment because I want to show you it. I am only interested in chips in slightly used condition or better. When I hit send email, and let me make another comment. This is only a test, not a real trade request, just so he knows. And then when I hit send email, it sent that email. So we could do this again and keep on going through other collectors until we make some trades. Now let's go to my email program because it sends you a copy of the email as well. And it hasn't hit mine yet. I wanted to show it to you, but maybe it's going to take a little while to get there. Any questions about TradeMaker? Has anybody here used TradeMaker?
I have.
Who's that?
This is Bill Thompson.
And how did it go?
It went fine. Yeah, it's
Okay.
good. It's a good tool. I just
Okay.
find that most people don't have what I'm looking for.
Okay. What's your last name, Bill?
Thompson.
Okay. So let's go to um,
Let me see here. There we go.
let's see your trade list. Your guide's a little slow tonight. All right. So you've got quite an extensive trade list.
I got a ton.
And I see you like 50 cent. You like fractionals.
Fractionals.
Okay. And I just picked up this chip today.
Oh, did you?
So, yeah, so I've got one. Well, I guess you don't want it then. Got an
No.
extra you're looking to trade.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so um, that's probably we have. Do you have? Let's see, $1 chips on your
There's a
list.
handful in there.
Yeah, you always wind up picking up stuff when you
Yep.
do a trade or buy a lot. Yeah, there's some. That's a nice one. Okay. And yeah, it's showing everything on your trade list. Okay. So have you done many trades with people?
Not a lot. I can't really quantify it. I can't put a number on it, but over the years, I don't know, half a dozen,
Oh,
10.
okay. So it's helping you put your collection together.
Oh yeah.
Any comments about it? Anything you'd like to see in addition or instead
As
with
far
it?
as Trade Maker goes, or
Yeah,
just Chip Guide?
yeah. Oh, both.
Chip. It would be nice to be able to use Chip Guide to keep track of how much I paid for an item,
Yeah.
but
You know,
that's
pe
data.
pe so, all right, since we have a nice group of individuals on here, I'll ask this question. People have said they'd like to use Chip Guide to um, keep track of what they paid for a chip, when they got it, and so forth, and also to upload the exact image of their chip onto the chip guide instead of, using the one that we have there. Is that something that you would be interested in doing, or just information about the purchase?
Just information about the purchase, I think. That's
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think people would be interested in scanning their own chips and putting them up on the chip guide. Maybe they want to indicate what condition they're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be very useful.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
if
make a
I
note
were,
about that.
Charles, this is Bob Pardue.
Yeah,
If I were adding anything to it, it would be putting in the condition of my chip. If there's some discrete field for that, as I'm, putting together a my collection list. And it would also be useful for if you're doing any trades in both directions, as you were talking about, to note in advance. I'm looking for, almost uncirculated or whatever the level is.
right.
And contrary, if I have a poor condition one that I'm offering, I'd want to make that known up front so that you don't have trades that go nowhere.
Okay, got it. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, you know, I'm going to say, uh, you know, I have some ideas of the things that I want to do, but the majority of stuff that's in the chip guide is there because collectors like you have asked for it to be there. You're the ones who had the ideas for making the improvements, and that's how we do it. Okay. I mean, another thing that I was thinking of doing was um, keeping track of actual um, sales, the pricing from actual sales of items. But it would have to be not a collector to a collector. It would have to be like an eBay sale or an auction um, from Chip Chat or auction prices from the club auction. So it would be factual information. This chip sold on this date for this amount of money as a part of this auction or whatever. And that would be keeping track of factual information that I thought might be helpful to collectors.
Yeah.
Hey Bill, this is Bob Mixall. The other thing you can do, though, I'll say it anyway, and I'm not sure if it'll run into a dead end, is you can, for the chips that are on your want list, at the very least, you could find who else has it on their trade list and contact them and say, hey, I don't have anything. Like TradeMaker presumes you have a match,
Right.
which sometimes can be very difficult because that's it's lining up two very specific things. But you may be willing to buy them, you just don't know who has them. So, you know, it, and it gets a little past trading, but it does facilitate building the collection that you could find who has chips on their trade list that are on your want
Right,
list, I guess.
right,
And then you could contact them if you know who they are, you could contact them directly or maybe um, we've always talked about, sometimes we talked about, like a public directory of people and emails for members to be able to see each other's email addresses so that you could write to them directly. Um, I think the trade maker kind of hides that a little bit. But if you know who they are, or you know somebody who knows them, or you can post on the chipboard or the club forum saying, "Hey, Bob Mixtel, I'm looking for you because I see that you have a chip that on your trade list I'm interested in buying from you." Then at the very least, that could help you make a connection.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
And the reason we talk about trades is we're not in the sales business. The dealers are in the sales business, and we like our dealers, and they support us, and we want to support them. So we just talk about trades. What kind of trade you make, that's up to you. Whether it's chip for chip or chip for green papers with dead presidents on it, that's beyond our ability to track. Okay. So we looked at chip guide query facility. Another thing I want to show you is, let's reset this. Go back to the entire chip guide. Let's say you collect 50-cent chips from California. I know there's somebody here who does. So we'll do 50 cents and we'll say United States. And once you pick a state, it's going to pop up everything in the United States. But then I could pick California. And what you can do is I want to keep update, make sure I've got all of the 50-cent chips from California in my collection. I can select a date range that says after, and I'll put in after 2023 and hit query, and there's nothing. Huh. Well, I'm a dollar collector, and I just did this.
Hmm.
All right, now we're starting to get something. So what I did before is I did this query. I said, show me all United States dollars that were introduced after 1924. So this is everything from last year. And then I could click on want list to let people know that I'm looking to get these new chips that came out last year or after last year. So if you want to keep your collection up to date with the stuff that you collect, this is what you can do. Figure out what it is you collect. Um, put in the date range. Let's say, I could say equal. So if I say equal 2025, I should get the same list back. Yeah. So this will show you everything that has been added. Um, not added, but the issue date is from last year, 2025. And then you could go ahead and start clicking, or I already got this one, or this one I don't have. I wanted it on my want list. I was at the Grand Sierra um, last May or April. So I picked up a bunch of these, so it's in my collection and my want list. And when I was in Vegas for the convention, I picked up a bunch of these, so it's on my want list, it's on my trade list. So that's one way you could keep your collection up to date. Look for the new stuff by selecting the stuff that you collect, and then adding the date range. Um, and then when you get the list, add them in. So this is just United States, but let's see if I do this for the Caribbean, if I get any. So we had two introduced from the Caribbean last year. This one I picked up last week. This one from Aruba, I'm still looking for. And that's one way I try and keep my collection up to date by doing that. All right. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to see. Is there anything else that you'd like to see about the chip guide or my collection or any other questions that you have? Because we have about another 10 minutes to go.
Is there a way to get a like a CSV or a Excel extract of my collection?
There, I can do it. And I actually had a third drop down here, image, text, and file. Um, but we removed it because we figured somebody could extract the entire chip guide, all the data
Oh.
from it by doing that. So that feature's not there. I've done it in selected situations where there was a need, real need to do it, and wasn't to get all our data. But it can be done. Yes,
I wonder if that could be tied to an end user just being able to do that to their collection and not the whole chip guide.
that's a
And
possibility.
something to think about.
So I'm making a note here, CSV of my collection.
Or want
No,
list or trade list.
Yeah,
yeah. And I think I've generated one before by just using, I mean, it's very, very labor intensive, using the text to,
hmm
uh,
I got it.
yeah, but
Yes, because
it took hours.
when you do text, and let me use get rid of that. So when you do text, things are lined up in columns, so they kind of import well into a spreadsheet, except the casino lines are going to throw
Mhm.
that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. All right. Um, okay, I took that as a note. We'll have some discussion on that and see if it's something we can do. Anything else? Okay. I wanted to show you, if you go to the Museum of Gaming History, um, there is a seminar suggestion box. If there's a topic that you'd like us to do a seminar on, you could fill this out and hit submit, and then that will go into a to-do list for me so that we can possibly do that seminar if we think it's something that'll be of general interest to collectors. Okay? So if you have any ideas and so another seminar that you'd like to see, you could fill this out. If you only have a topic, you only have to fill in the topic. You don't know who's going to do it. That's okay. If you know somebody who's a terrific speaker and they do a lot of different topics, you could recommend a speaker to us, and then we'll contact them and see what they can do as a seminar on. So there is that feature here Was it easy for everybody to register for the seminar?
Yeah.
Just,
Good.
No
yeah, just
problem.
Okay. And
Yeah, I
everybody
did
got
it.
the email with the registration link
Yeah,
in
I
it.
did
Yep.
it 5 minutes before the seminar.
Yeah, I
Worked
kept on
fine.
checking today. I figured there'd be a lot of last minute guys like you. Okay. All right. So we will look to do another one in February. And I thank again everybody for joining us. Appreciate all the questions and suggestions that everybody had. It'll just make it better for everybody else. So thank you, participants, and I'm going to sign off now. Okay? So good night from New York, from frigid New York.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you,
Charles.
Charlie.
Charles,
Good
appreciate you.
presentation.
Night.
Good night,
All right.
everyone.
thanks again.
You're welcome.